What's up, guys? Tambo here with your Week 6 core report. It's an exciting time to be a Run Pure Sports member as we parlay another big week of winning with the start of the NBA season. Here's a recap of last week. No sports were off limits for winners this past week. Relay 20 hit for $8K on the NASCAR slate. Brad Combe won $5K in an MLB playoff slate. Max Hankins gave a preview of what members can expect, shipping for $21,000 in NBA preseason. Big T had another big week, hitting for over $37,000 in CFB. For the NFL main slate, GK 2400 won over $10K on FanDuel, while our guy Locks shipped an NFL Live final seat. But the biggest wins came on Monday Night Football, when the top of the leaderboard was littered with RPS logos again. JSU led the way with his core plays featuring Captain Austin Eckler and Justin Herbert and Joshua Palmer in the flex. His winning lineup was topped off with Russell Wilson and Dustin Hopkins, as well as low-owned $200 Greg Dulcich, who was talked up big on our free Monday Night Football Showdown show by special guest Chris Rando.
He's fast. He runs like a 4.7 40, and he can actually play the slot. He gives very difficult matchup situations. He's fast. He's got hands. Don't be surprised tonight if maybe he's out there in the mix and, he gets, a few catches and, who knows what happens.
This is your weekly reminder to head on over to our YouTube page and hit subscribe to access all of our great free content. Our guy Johnny AirPods wasn't the only one repping RPS at the top, shipping for over $50K. Matt Attack Lax ran the same lineup twice, shipping for over $95,000. Phil Mike's Bra also shipped for $10,000, while Nuggets hit for $14,000. Now is the time to join us. Head on over to runpuresports.com and sign up for a membership today. Again, all sports are included for one price, and NBA starts this week. You won't want to miss out when our team gets hot during hoop season. Remember, if you're not winning with us, you're watching us win. Till next time, let's keep running pure.
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
What is up, Drew Bronies? JJ back here with Mangone, Bruce, Big T. I will say this. It's a shame that the show started now and not 10 minutes ago because probably folks would have enjoyed the conversation. Mangone, you want to just let the folks know what your morning was like today?
Yeah, I woke up at 5:45. Actually, let's start with last night. Let's do that first, actually. So I'm falling asleep. Me and Big T talked about this. Sometimes it's good to go to sleep listening to some podcasts and stuff, right? You kind of retain some information. And I'm sitting there listening to the Prim Factory with Big T, Dunkel, and JST, one of my favorite shows to listen to. And as I'm sitting there, just trying to get a nice sleep in, I just hear Big T and Dunkel just ripping on me. Dunkel's like, yeah, man, I didn't expect him to have even a TV for me to watch the games. He had a blanket on. Dude, I bought you pizza. I literally bought you a pizza and had it there fresh, ready to go when you got there. I got Big T just ragging on me. And so I wake up randomly at 5:45 a.m. and I say, okay, I can either go to the gym later. I can get up right now, go to the gym and be ready to rock. And you know what? You guys making fun of me had me ready to rock. So don't worry. I'm going to be good for March. Don't you worry there, Big T. I don't want you on my side anymore. You had your chance to be on Team Mangone. I mean, if you're not with me, you're against me. You got to be at my lowest, got to be with me at my highest. So I don't want Anthony on my side anymore. Dunkel, I'll give you a pass for now.
I'll be honest.
How come Dunkel gets a pass?
Credit to Mangone. I didn't think he was even going to watch that Prim Factory show. So kudos to you. Looking back, probably wasn't worth the effort with the joke, but either way,
I thought it was worth it, Dunkel.
It made this show funny.
Big T's thought it's worth it. He does it on every show. He goes on every show and just literally just decides Doug, every show we do. And I'm not even on the shows. I don't even watch them all, but sometimes I even go back and I didn't watch one of the premium shows and I see someone at me in the mentions and I'm like, oh, there's Big T just going at me again. And that's fine. I don't want him on my side anymore.
Anywho, so yes, last week I was away but I was not away from the DFS streets because I did lose a lot of money last week. However, Anthony Wayne, what a day for Anthony Wayne. Hyatt from Tennessee, what a fucking freak. You want to walk us through your week last week because you had a big one?
Yeah, well, it wasn't bad. My man Hooker, I played him every week, and he came through again. Just owned Bama. The guy's good. That was the only team I bet preseason, so it's nice to see them rolling. I mean, they're good. Been on them every week, and it's always good when your read is right. And last week, yeah, a lot went right. Could have been even bigger. Didn't ship like the huge field thing, but shipped all the high stakes stuff. Always fun. You take a little more pride when you take down the high stakes guys because they don't like that. And yeah, I mean, it was a good week, but right back to it. This week isn't as good as last week, though. Last week we had a bunch of really good matchups, high totals, different things. This week it's a little bit uglier. Bunch of injuries out there we got to keep our eye on. Not that many early games either, it looked like. We have a lot more afternoon games. I don't know. Always excited for college slate. We got MMA this morning too, so if you haven't checked out Title and DC doing that, plus all the content we got up, can't beat starting your weekend with MMA at 10:30, college at 12, bunch of other stuff as the day gets going. That's what it's all about.
Love it. And Bruce, the silent assassin, if you will, best CFB content dude in the industry. How was your week last week? And you looking forward to this one?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Had a down week. I love to see at least one of us ship though, so that's solid. Yeah, I like this week. A lot of good games, I think. But yeah. Just letting the show breathe. I enjoyed the pre-show conversation, so it's good to hear. Looking forward to some basketball this year. So
yeah, right around the corner.
Yeah.
Well, NBA is already here. I mean, college is right around the corner as well.
Yeah, in March when we take it out on the slab for sure.
Bruce, I'm getting there early too. Just so you know, if you want to get in there early, I'm getting there early to shoot on the hoops. I'm coming for Tony possibly at this point. He's got me very, very upset, and that's fine. I thrive in those environments. That's fine. Keep chirping over there, Big T.
Love it. I will say this about this slate. It does look like this is the most right they've gotten pricing all season long. There's just
finally got your boy Big Bo Nix at 9,300. Dunkel, what was he, 5,300 the week you talked about him?
We'll talk about that game when we get to it, Anthony. But yes, there's some interesting pricing all around. I think, like I said, I think this is as tight as it's been all year. Obviously, there's always a few gaps in college, just like in the NFL, but it is a fun slate, in my opinion, because I like when the pricing's tight. I think that's where you kind of find the most value, or better value than most anyway. All right, without further ado, we can
Don't before we start, can I mention this? Like, I agree with like the tight pricing thing. The one thing I think is so strange about this slate is it feels like all the quarterbacks that you want, you can't like find receivers that you want with them, like that you're excited to play, right? Like, not like if you look at like the pool of like receivers that you want and quarterbacks, they don't align as much as like normally. So that's like the one really interesting thing that I personally noticed about this slate. Like as we go on and like someone's like, I love this quarterback, like listen to like hear what receiver they're really going to like with the run back or I mean to pair up with them, because it is kind of tough this week. That's the thing that I definitely noticed on this slate.
My favorite quarterback has a receiver you compare him with.
Okay, yeah, one, Tony. Yes, yeah, you can find that. But the point I'm getting at is it's not the same as most weeks. But I mean, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how many receivers you love with your quarterbacks as you go through everything. Yes, maybe that your favorite has one. I could see that.
I want to be clear that my favorite version of Mangone is back against the wall defensive Mangone.
There's another one? What's the other one?
Well, it's
like saying my favorite version of Mangone is Mangone. Like, what's the difference?
It's just a stupid take. It's like I said, like, oh, it's not typically your week.
My favorite version of Bruce is the one that crushes college football content. Like, I mean,
but like, Dougal, you get what I'm saying. I said, like, yeah, it's not one of those weeks where like most of them, the Tony's like, well, my favorite does, like, yes, Tony, yes, you got one. Congrats. Like, it's not the same as most weeks. Like, I'm just being honest. Like,
my favorite two quarterbacks both have receivers that are goats.
Yeah. I mean, there are some, but I'm telling you, it's not the same as most weeks. We'll see. Maybe I'll pull up your player pool at the end of the slate and be like, okay, let's see how many align together. Cause I'm just saying it doesn't align as much as normal slates. It just doesn't. It's definitely something that's very noticeable on this slate.
So you like Drew Pine, Tony, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't ruin the wait. Dunkel said he's the host and we're not on that game yet. He warned me already. I got scolded in segment 1.
Yeah, Bruce, settle the fuck down over there, please. Thank you very much. All right, so let's start with and as we mentioned, there's not a lot of 12 o'clock games, only 4. I think we're used to having 5 or 6 on 12. And it's been odd, right? I think it feels like every week this year, it's been, if you just faded the early games, you'd be in good shape. It's really weird how that continues to happen. I'd argue today you have 4 games again that there's nothing really crazy that pops out. I mean, we'll talk about these, but interested in your guys' take. So Baylor, Kansas, there is some injury concern on the Baylor QB side. You got implied totals. Baylor 34, Kansas 24. As mentioned, Shapen might play, might not play. Looks like he's supposed to play, but I guess time will tell over this next hour or two. Running backs, I mean, look, Reese is playable, but if you watch Baylor play, like this dude doesn't play a lot of the snaps. Like feels like he plays barely 50% of the snaps. He definitely gets some volume, but his price is a little high to love, to be honest. Devin Neal has been getting a decent amount of volume since Hishaw's been out. But again, it's nothing that you really love at the receiver end in this entire game. I just can't imagine having conviction for anyone in this. Bruce, I'll start with you in this game. Anything that really pokes out to you? Because as far as prices go, nothing for me, but what do you think?
Yeah, I think Shapen could be in play just at that price. But yeah, if he's banged up, he probably won't run as much. That was a pretty bad concussion last week that he took. I really like Quaylon Jones here, 3K. He's my favorite punt today, just because it's Kansas and haven't stopped anybody. 32 points per game to the running back spot. Last week he got 58% of the snaps to Reese's 26%. I am watching like Tay McWilliams if he comes back. That could cut into their time, but I really like him at that 3K price point there. Gavin Holmes also 4,900. He had 2 long catches last week and just looks really good this year. I really like him at 4,900, but yeah, other than that, it's rough. I guess you can make a case for Jason Bean, who can throw the football, and that's kind of Baylor's weak point, is their secondary. So you can make a case for him, but yeah, I mostly staying away from it other than the 3K punt.
A good mention on Jones, though, especially I assume Reese still starts. What do they just intertwine the two?
Yeah, they kind of just go with whoever's hot, I guess. But yeah, it should just be those 2 guys. So it should be close to a split.
Cool. Yeah, and as I said, it felt like every Baylor game I've watched this year, Reese is like barely in 50% of the snaps. So it doesn't surprise that you mentioned he only had 26% snap share this week. Mangone, game like this, obviously a little bit of an odd game all around. Thoughts on anything you like, love?
Yeah, I mean, Quaylon Jones is like the really interesting one. He's a 3K running back that we have to consider on this slate, but he's not like your typical 3K running back where it's just, I think, like a perfect slam in spot. Also, I don't think it's like one of these slates where we have like all these like guys that we want to like jam in at the top for certain. So I don't really know what to do with this, like a guy like Quaylon Jones today, because there is a lot of really good mid-tier values today, where I do think the middling build is where a lot of people are kind of going to look. Quaylon Jones is in the pool for me, but not someone that I'm like jamming in. I don't think he'll be for sure in my core, but I like him in the conversation this week. I'm sure Big T absolutely loves him because he really loves to punt the running backs, but we'll have to see. I think he's a good option. He's one that I've messed around with builds, but sometimes I've been like, oh, I don't really need him here in this spot. But some builds I've made, I'm like, oh, he fits really well, and you actually need him to make things work.
Cool. Big T, how about you? Anything in this game?
Yeah, I mean, you got a 3K running back projected for 15. I'm definitely going to be way into that. He's going to crush against K. We do need to monitor, make sure one of those other running backs doesn't play. But even Reese, I don't think people are going to play him, and I like him. I like both these running backs. I've done this a ton where I play both running backs in the same spot, but I could easily do that here. I like Jones way better, obviously, but I could see this game being just a smash. Both guys score twice. Both guys go over 100. I could easily see something like that happening. So that's where I'm at. I'm not playing Bean, dude's cheeks. Yeah, just the two running backs for me.
Cool. We can move on to the next game. So Clemson, Syracuse, looking at implied totals, 31.75 for Clemson, 17.75 for Syracuse. This is an interesting game for me for a few different reasons. So first of all, a guy like Schrader, to me, a lot like Aiden O'Connell, not that they're similar because Aiden O'Connell doesn't run, but when these guys are 6K-ish, like to me, they're always in play. But I do have exclusions or spots where I won't play them. I definitely won't play a guy like Schrader against a defense like Clemson's. I do think with a guy like Schrader, basically his floor against any team is typically 17, 18 though. So that's why at a 6K price point, like he was last week against NC State, I think he's always a smash spot. But again, Clemson, it's risky and on the road, so I don't love the spot at all. Sean Tucker is very similar in that regard. You get him in the 6K price area, he's always in play because he catches passes. When Syracuse scores, he's always in the mix. But again, the matchup kind of sucks, so it's not ideal. I'm surprised that they have Gadsden's price up to 6,300 now. I know that he's had a few good games in a row, but woof, that price just seems super high for him as an individual. On the other side, so Clemson with I always get this dude's name wrong. You Gagagole, Bruce? No,
you're gonna lose your money if you play him.
Yeah, it's just DJU for me. I can't say it.
DJU. So I will say this, much like Schrader, this is another guy when his price is 7K or less. Love playing him. His floor is basically 25 in every matchup. Now, Syracuse plays really good defense, and this game is going to play slow, so it makes it even worse. And this is a game I did bet the under in, so even less of a reason to back it. But again, I will say that if we didn't have so many of these other bigger quarterbacks, I do think you should have some exposure to our friend DJU, because again, you're looking at a guy that's floor is 25, and he does, and if he does happen to score all the touchdowns for this team, which does happen at times because for whatever reason they hate Shipley, it's not a crazy price tag for him, all things considered. But other than that would be the only play I would have in this game would be DJU. I don't like Shipley at 68. Again, he could get there. I worry about his ceiling. But other than that, again, another ugly game. Big T, I'll start with you because it doesn't seem like you like this game at all. Oh, never mind. Mangone, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this game?
I'm good. I liked your Schrader talk, and then you walked it back. This reminds me of like the Bo Nix spot that you liked in a way. The dude's so cheap. And Clemson can't stop the pass, so this Gadsden dude is going to crush. And I know we don't usually pair Schrader with a receiver, but it makes a ton of sense to me at these prices. I actually think Gadsden's too cheap. You thought he was too expensive. I think he's too cheap. He's just getting peppered, and they get so much usage. Like, he just has been getting peppered with targets, and I don't know. I think he's got a ton of upside, and Schrader's just too cheap. There's not that many quarterbacks that are cheap on this slate. To Mangone's point, I like a lot of these one receiver type teams like this. Schrader with Gadsden. We'll get to a few more as we go, but a lot of the quarterbacks I like have only one receiver that I like with them, which is great in college because you can't usually decide. Some teams like Ohio State, you could play literally a million guys. Whereas some of these teams, the spot's not great. I don't think they score a ton, but based on the price points, I think your initial point was a great point to filter these guys in.
Yeah, I think time will tell, right? Gadsden, you bring up a good point. He is getting peppered against a defense that has been susceptible, not as good as Clemson normally has been defensively. But man, the idea of Schrader and his inaccuracies finding holes in this
he is bad at throwing the ball for sure.
Not ideal. Bruce, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, so I was reading a little bit about this game last night because I was a little confused on which way to go. Looks like last week when Florida State ran the zone read, they had issues stopping it. And Syracuse runs the zone read about 60% of the time. I think they averaged 6 yards a carry, Florida State did last week on the zone read. So I know it's on the road, and Clemson is getting a couple defensive guys back, so it's a little bit scary there. But I don't mind Schrader there. Tucker as well. Tucker kind of got there at the end of last week, tilted me, like broke away on a long touchdown. But yeah, I like Schrader there and Tucker. Looks like Gadsden could be in play. You know, his target share the last couple of weeks has been about 30%. And he does have 5 touchdowns as well. Antonio Williams for Clemson at 5,300 seemed quite a big price jump. I think he was $3K when I was playing him, so it's a little scary there too. But his target share has steadily been climbing every week, and he's just a freshman. He's just looked like the best receiver on that Clemson team. I don't mind Shipley either. They've actually last week they just kept giving him the football, and they just know that he's probably their best option back there. So I don't mind him. He can fall into the end zone a couple times as well, and he catches the football. So, yep, not too much exposure to this game, but it could get interesting for sure.
Mangone, are you more on the Big T side or are you more on the Bruce side for this game?
Yeah, I mean, I like Schrader and Tucker. Like those two guys are fine. I don't mind the Gadsden call. I think he's someone that you can play at the receiver position. But I don't really want to play any of DJ. I'm out on him. It's really just like kind of maybe getting some exposure to this Syracuse side, mainly because it's like the targets are just kind of condensed, right? Like they're kind of condensed on those 3 guys. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think it's interesting, but at the same time, these aren't guys I'm like, going in and putting in my core probably and prioritizing. I do think Sean Tucker could be one of those guys that maybe like, I think a lot of people are going to live in that 6K range for running back, where you could get Sean Tucker lower owned than most slates. It feels like almost every slate that you play, Sean Tucker comes in at like 20+%. This could be a day where maybe you get him in that like 10 to like 15% range, possibly. It could get steamed up to 20, certainly. But I guess the point I'm getting at is these 6K running backs are where more people are going to go rather than I think someone like Tucker. So I think that could make him a little bit interesting there in tournaments.
Cool. Let's move on. Ohio State, Iowa. This to me is actually a dream matchup for Ohio State, because not in a good way, because I hate when Ohio State's on the slate, because everybody just loads up on these receivers and it's very annoying. I think you're going to get a little less ownership today in this game than you normally would. Iowa plays like a snail. And Ohio State scores against everybody. I'm not saying they're not going to have a good game today, but it is nice to know. I am still pissed off that they still continue to price Igbuka at 6,900. Like, I just don't understand why he's not over 7K. So yes, he's definitely going to see ownership. Harrison will see ownership as he always does. And Smith-Njigba, what do you see in Bruce? Is he going to play? I mean, I know they're saying expected to play. Do you have any idea on snap count? Anything like that?
Yeah, they had a bye week last week, so he should be good to go. So I would think he's ready.
Out of all the games, this is probably my biggest question mark, because I don't know how I want to approach it. I won't have Henderson at all. So to me, that's an easy fade. But the receivers are interesting, right? Because in a perfect world in GPPs, they just spread the wealth around and nobody's in the optimal. But you just know on any given day, any one of these dudes can have 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, and it's very annoying. So I'm still debating on how I want to approach these 3 receivers, especially if all 3 are in. But Mangone, I'll start with you. How are you looking at this game? Obviously, nobody on Iowa for me, and I assume I'm the same with everybody else. But Iowa State, how are you approaching this team's offense today?
Yeah, I mean, if JSN is out, that would obviously make Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jigba a lot better plays. But right now, I'm kind of currently leaning like trying to fade them. I just don't think I need to play an Iowa game. Like, if an Iowa game beats me, I think it just beats me. Like, especially with CJ Stroud's price, 9.2K. I just think this is a game I can get away with not playing. I think there's other receivers in this range that could be lower owned. Yes, you can make the argument that Ohio State is going to be lower owned than normal, but there's some interesting ones, I think, in that 6K range that you can kind of maybe take some stabs at instead, or go up to the 7K range for some other stud receivers that are up there. So I'm trying my best to fade this one.
BigT, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State, I agree with how annoying they are because they're so good. They have so many guys that can just nuke the slate. I don't know, though, versus Iowa, I know everyone has the same take. They play slow. I mean, decent defense. They have nothing really to offer, though. I'm just going to fade it and take my chances. I mean, these price points are high enough. Like, I'm not that worried about fading Stroud. Really, it's just the receivers I'm worried about. Sure, one of them could totally crush, but in college, there's tons of receivers that go off. You can always catch up in other spots. I'm just going to fade this spot.
Like Tony, are you Xing them? Or are you keeping them in the pool?
I'm Xing
and
them.
seeing? Okay, that's what I was debating. Like I thought about maybe keeping them if I don't have enough receivers in my pool. Like I think that's.
I don't hate leaving them in either. They're fine either way. I mean, like if you end up with one of them, it's not like you're mad.
Yeah.
Really, that's the only time I like Xing guys is if you're just like if you end up with a good team and you got some dude in there that sucks, like you'd be pissed at yourself. I wouldn't be pissed if any of these guys are. I'm gonna pull them out personally, but I don't see an issue with leaving these guys in your pool.
I think my first run, I'm going to keep them in the pool, and then probably I'll see what it is, and I'll be like, okay, time to X them. I think that's how it's going to work for me. So
you might not get as many as you think, anyways. Honestly,
correct.
Except for just a few.
Yeah, I want to see how it kind of shapes out when I do it. So that's kind of my thought on it.
And Bruce, I know I mentioned, I think I mentioned to you briefly the thing when the game started about Smith and Jigba, but what's your thoughts on this game and how you're approaching it?
I think I'm just gonna fade it. I may play some JSN and GPPs. Stover's interesting at 3K. He's been on the field almost every snap and 4 targets. Does have a couple touchdowns as well. So I don't mind him as a punt if you want a good 3K punt from that game. He's probably one of the better tight ends they've had over the years. But yeah, running back is a fade. Henderson and Mayan Williams have pretty much been sharing snaps. So I don't want any part of that, especially against this good defense. And Iowa's secondary is kind of underrated as well. They've put up some good numbers too. So yeah, it's pretty much a stay away from me other than a couple GPP lineups possibly.
Okay, cool. Let's move on to the next game. SMU Cincy. Now this game has some sneaky potential to it. Obviously you get one of the best receivers in the country in this game. Mordecai at 7,600, not ideal price to be honest in this matchup, but the guy has a tremendous amount of upside in this offense. Ben Bryant, I know it's you, Bruce, right? That loves Ben Bryant. I'm being sarcastic. So yeah, it's hard to love the quarterbacks in this price range, but SMU will speed Cincinnati up. Problem is, like a guy like McClellan, makes sense. I remember it wasn't too long ago. This dude was 3K, right? We were playing him at 3K in some matchup. Yeah. Corey Kiner and him basically split the backfield. I think Kiner was out a week ago or something like that, but now he's back in the mix. So it makes it harder to love that side. I will tell you this on the Cincy receiver end, if Tyler Scott's out, I think that opens up some doors. Like Trey Tucker at 62, it to me is a great play if Scott's out. You can do whatever you want against SMU's defense, and Cincinnati, while their offense is certainly taking a back seat, they can still throw the football downfield to various guys. And I think without Scott, you figure Trey Tucker probably sees 10 plus targets today at this price range. And it's not like any receiver today, like really wows you. I think that's a decent spot. And you can maybe think about going these other cheaper guys like a Curley for SMU. On the Cincinnati, on the SMU side though, look, Rashee Rice, obviously one of the best talents at the position this year. But again, I feel like they kind of priced him right in this spot. This is a sneaky game because you don't have any true conviction over anybody, but I think there's a decent amount of options that you can play. And it wouldn't surprise me if one or two guys on this game nuke the slate. Bruce, I'll go right back to you. How are you approaching this game? For me, it's really Rashee Rice and Tucker, basically fade the rest. But how are you approaching this one?
I don't mind McClellan at this price, 6,100. You do have some other guys in that range, of course, but SMU has been pretty bad against the run as well. I don't really like playing running backs on the road as much, but they are giving up 32 DraftKings points per game to the running back spot. They do have Ryan Montgomery back as well, so it's it's a little bit more sketchy than I probably like, but this could be a good game. Dylan Goffney at 3K got 54% of the snaps last week, and he's filling in for Jake Bailey in the slot. So I don't mind him. He scored a touchdown as well, so it's a good solid spot. Rashee Rice, he's been battling like a toe injury, I believe. So that 7,900 is rough. You have A.T. Perry in that same range, so I think I'd kind of lean Perry there, but still not a bad play. But also watching on Tyler Scott, if he's good to go, he's probably a good solid play. Supposedly he was banged up, but could have came back into the game, so I think he's going to go. I like your thoughts on Trey Tucker as well. Should smash if Scott's out. So, but yeah, this is a sneaky game. I don't love Bryant, but Mordecai's interesting. This Cincy defensive backfield lost everybody to the NFL, so they've been really poor at defending the pass. I think Tulsa put up good numbers on them earlier in the year.
Big T, what do you like in this game?
Yeah, we got a lot of unknown stuff in this game. Was it Bruce last week that got me on Goffney? It was you, Bruce, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was that weekday slate.
Yeah, and he's 3K, so I have to have at least some interest in him again at the Stone Man. You don't really need it today. There's not as much up top that I want, but I could play it. I know Rubio said he's faster than Rashee Rice. So that was an interesting take from last weekend or whatever he was saying. He was trashing him. Just an embarrassing Rubio. Mangone says I always dunk on him. I got to dunk on Rubio here. I mean, come on, Rubio. The dude's one of the best receivers in the country. But I don't know. Like, I think this game is sneaky, but I don't know what to like. I don't feel like anybody's that good of a value. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of injuries. And sometimes, you know what? It just breaks down to I don't want to deal with it. There's a lot of good games later in the day. I don't need these guys, so I'm going to just ignore it, I think, outside of just some fillers, just a little bit of fillers.
And what about you? Kind of same thing as all of us, where a game makes sense to play some pieces, but you have little conviction behind anybody?
Yeah, I kind of feel similar. Like, I do like the Tucker call. If you are going to play like the SMU stack and you need the run back, I think that was a good shout out by you.
I don't even know who Tucker is. Who are you guys talking about?
He's 6'2". He's a receiver for Cincy if Tyler Scott's out. It does make sense if Scott's out, but he's
like 7,300.
Scott is 73. Tucker's 6'2".
Wow.
But that's if you're doing the stack, right? You need a run back. Like, I think it makes more sense in that scenario. Like, I don't think I would play it. I would need him out, and then I would need the run back as well. I'm also not playing Mordecai right now, and that's because I have other quarterbacks in that range that I just prefer. So not really playing him. And Rashee Rice is one of those guys. He'll probably enter the pool, but as I like kind of build out teams, I don't know, maybe he doesn't make it on a lot of my teams as I think, just because there might be other receivers that I end up going to. Not going to just X him out, but definitely going to have exposure and then see how it kind of shakes out. And then I think the Goffney idea, I prefer him over playing like a Rice just because of what it could do for my full lineup possibly. So that's maybe a guy that I would go to a little bit more just because of that, but not a game I'm dying to get to as much. I think there's some later games that I want to go to. I know Fallick already has in his core, he has the fading all the early games. I don't know if I'm going to pull that for sure, but there's definitely a chance I do that because there's some good games coming up that we got to talk about.
Well, that's the thing. It's like all the early games. It's 4 games. I mean, it's not like the slate's 13 games, it's only 4 games. So, yeah, it's not. It doesn't surprise people to me that people will be off these games. Nothing really sticks out crazy. So let's just move on to the next game. 2:30 Notre Dame UNLV. Another game. It's not exactly anything you really love per se, but I do find this interesting. So Notre Dame has an implied total of 37 points. And all these dudes are dirt cheap. And that's the problem, right? Because if you're playing in the high stake, I mean, not the high stakes, but you're playing in the big GPP, man, it wouldn't surprise me if one of these running backs happens to find themselves in the optimal, if the snap share happens to be the right timing and they get the touchdowns, and all these guys are just super cheap. But, you know, and even like Drew Pine at 5K, he's just super cheap for this matchup. Like, I know that his upside's not really there, but again, on a slate where like you don't really love anything at quarterback at the high level, like as far as the pricing goes, it's not crazy that a guy like Pine could get you 25 in a matchup like this in 5X and then open up all your flex spots. But yeah, he is dusty. I mean, to me, like we talked on Bo Nix weeks ago, like Bo Nix at least runs. Like Pine doesn't even run. It barely does if anything. So yeah, it makes it tough as far as his upside goes, but the matchup makes sense. UNLV gives up like 300 rushing yards to everybody they play. So Notre Dame's running game makes sense today, but again, another game that's really tough to have conviction around anything. We'll have better takes in the later games. I certainly think I will. LOL. But anyway, Mangone, I'll go right back to you. Meyer, Pine, maybe outside of that, you flipping around running backs for Notre Dame. UNLV to me is completely out of the question. Anything you like here?
Yeah, I doubt I'm mixing in many Notre Dame running backs. There's other options I prefer. The big debate here is like, yeah, like Michael Meyer, I think he's a good like option in like the, to mix and match out your lineups. But like, here's one of the problems I have. What happens when they just get up? Are they just going to establish it and get out of there? I'm like, I don't know. Could Michael Meyer just have, a touchdown and like 50 yards, which like, that's cool and all, but it might not be enough to be like the winner. Right. So, that's something I'm kind of thinking a little bit about on this slate. Like, I don't know, is it going to be worth it? Are they just going to be up too much where maybe Meyer doesn't get leaned on? That's the big concern that I have with this game. I'm sure I'll have Meyer in my pool. That's the main guy in this game that I'll be looking at. But other than that, like, I just don't know if I want to get to any of these other options. And I'm definitely thinking about how much Meyer I want to play. So I think he's going to be a very chalky option on this slate for sure. So it's definitely something to think about when kind of filling out your lineups.
Big T, what about you? Another awkward game, but anything you like or love?
Yeah, Meyer. I'm going to play him every week. He's going to be chalky, but he's too cheap again. Last week, they priced him up a little higher. He didn't exactly crush, but he still had a decent game. And I mean, he's just too cheap. He's going to crush. And yeah, I like Meyer.
What about you, Bruce?
Yeah, the running backs are the tough part. Again, yes, UNLV defense is just bad. So that's always the tough part about Notre Dame. I think Estime is probably the play, but you just never know. They split it almost exactly 3 ways last week. So that's just really rough. I think Kyle Williams is back for UNLV. He is priced up, but they do a lot of things to get him the football. So that's something to watch for. Michael Meyer is going to be 30% owned, but yeah, he should see his share of targets, 35% target share. I think that's tops on the slate. So he's in play, but yeah, I don't want to play Pine. Definitely don't want to play a UNLV quarterback. So another thing to look at is Aiden Robbins is out for UNLV, but I don't want to play the backup running back there. He's priced up too. So yeah, not too much of this game. Meyer and maybe a Notre Dame running back in GPPs or something. But yep.
All right, let's move on. The next 5 games are actually all have good things to talk about. So Texas Tech, West Virginia, looking at implied totals, 35.75 Tech, 29.75 West Virginia. The Tech question marks around the quarterback position really muddy this on that side. So Donovan Smith, look, if we knew he was going to play 4 quarters, absolute smash spot at 7K. But that is the big question mark. Even if he starts, you just have no idea what's going to go on with I mean, this has been like a merry-go-round the last few weeks with Morton and Show and Donovan's been out. And then there was the one game where he didn't even start. Mangone, and that was when I was at your place. He didn't even start, and then he cocomes in on the goal line for like a 4th and 2.
Did you get pizza when you were at Mangone's place?
Free pizza, Big T.
Did he had it waiting too?
He also got to use my computer too instantly. I handed it to him and everything.
the computer, it's the best that you bring the computer out.
I just asked the question. I said, "Oh, what do you need it for?" And he expressed, "Oh, okay, cool." I mean, I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he's going to go on and
perfect that you brought up the computer after we talked about it.
That is good.
I take.
Did we talk about it on the Print Factory?
Don't you worry. I was like, I entered Guantanamo Bay when I entered that house. But no, all in good.
I even gave him a charger for the way home, by the way. He's like, "Oh, can I charge this before I go home?" Of course. Charge it up, Dunkel. Get everything you want.
I was allowed to charge for 5 minutes. So 300 seconds, 300 seconds of charging was worth every second. Yeah. So again, the Donovan Smith thing, I'm interested in your guys' thoughts because it is a strange scenario because yeah, ultimately he would be like uber chalk today if we knew he was playing the entire game. I will say this, one of my favorite plays of the slate at 4,700 is our boy Thompson, running back, Texas Tech. Shadrick, I believe it's pronounced. This is a dude that last year was priced in the 6Ks every week. It finally looks like they're starting to get him more involved. Now, the problem is it does correlate to Donovan Smith because his best games have really come when Donovan Smith wasn't playing. So I don't know if it's because they run more of a read option with Smith or because Smith obviously just takes a lot more carries. But Thompson at 47 to me is a smash spot today on a slate where you're really looking for spots to find good, cheap guys where you think you can get decent value out of them. It looks like Thompson's finally going back to his 15, 20 touches a week. And again, it's hard to look at these Tech games and be like, oh, well, it doesn't look like he's gotten a lot of touches. Like their game scripts have been a lot of them playing from behind. It should not be the case today. They should be playing from ahead. They should be able to lean on the run game a little more than usual. I think it makes a lot of sense for Thompson at running back today. On the wide receiver end, I don't love anything West Virginia. I mean, if they were priced right, it would make sense. Texas Tech wide receivers are likely to be, I'm interested in your ownership projections here, Bruce, because if Price doesn't play, you're going to get a bunch of these guys cheap again. There's just so many question marks around the quarterback for who plays today. But I think that out of everybody, the safest play in this game is Thompson at 4,700. Bruce, how are you approaching this one?
I think Morton's going today for Tech. They had that week off, so he should be good to go. I think he just had an ankle injury, and Shuck is actually out, probably out another week. What was so weird about their last game is, they had Donovan Smith out there. They said he was injured, and then he comes out and lines up at wide receiver. How is he injured if he's running routes? So it was kind of strange, but supposedly he's got a knee and a shoulder injury as well. So their whole quarterback room is banged up. But yeah, I echo your thoughts on Thompson. He got 80% of snaps against Oklahoma State. I don't know if Brooks was banged up or what. Usually it's kind of a split. But yeah, Brooks didn't do much that game. The Texas Tech wide receiver position is kind of interesting to me. I do like Cleveland a lot if Price doesn't go at 5K. Also Bradley at 4,500. Nehemiah Martinez at 3K is a decent punt in the slot. And Caden Prather for West Virginia, if you want a good run back spot, him and Ford Wheaton, 28 and 23% target share. Texas Tech is good on defense, but I think West Virginia is going to be playing from behind here, so I don't mind those two guys.
Are you, Big T? Anything like in this game?
Oh man, it looks like a good spot. Like Morton projects very, very nicely. I just worry about they got is the one dude for sure out, the third guy, Shu or whatever his name is?
Yeah, they're supposedly going to give him another week. They have Baylor next week.
So you think Morton's for sure a lot? Oh, I shouldn't use the word lock, but he should play the full game.
Yeah, I think he should start. And I think Smith's been banged up, so I think they'll probably.
I mean, if you think Morton starts, I think he's one of the best plays of the slate for sure. But man, it gets tough after that. I don't know. In college, I try to just focus my pool on things I know. And it's just really hard because I like Thompson too with you guys. I hate the receivers from Texas Tech. This is kind of the spot Mangone was talking about when I was trolling him a little bit. It's really hard. I like Morton, but what do I do? Because I like Thompson. And whenever it gets like this cluttered, I kind of just usually kick it to the side in college and go to a different spot that I feel confident in. So I'm just torn in this game. I might just leave it more for fillers because I do think we see points. I do think Morton's a good play. I do think Thompson, Cleveland. I think these guys are good plays, but we need to wait on all the injury news, make sure who's in, who's out. And then West Virginia is even more of just a cluster to me where I think one of these receivers will definitely crush. But which one's it going to be? I don't know. It could be any of these three to me, the Wheaton, Prather, James. Maybe I'll set a rule to give me one of the three with maybe one or two pieces from Texas Tech. I think that's a good way to do it, but I'm not super confident in any of the plays in this game.
Well, you, Mangone. I know you love our boy Morton.
I do like Morton, but you do have to play the guessing game, right? It's annoying. It's not fun to do. Maybe if we get news on the price stuff, that could help a little bit. And I don't know, is Morton going to be okay? I saw that last game. I mean, he was a trooper battling, but I mean, what if it's just one injury? The dude can't like move anymore. Because once he wasn't mobile, it was like an absolute disaster out there for him. Like he gained no more DK points. It was terrible. So
Morton.
yeah, that's his name, right?
Yeah, no, I didn't know about the injury or whatever you were saying.
Yeah, yeah. So when we were watching the game, right, Dunkel, and like when we saw it, Morton was like, he looked great out there. Dude's running around, he's slinging it like he's Brett Favre, just like no fear. And then he gets hurt, and then he like just isn't running anymore. And like all his production just basically stopped, it felt like. So yeah, I mean, obviously I'm assuming he's healthy now, but like there is that like slight concern here. It is a huge total. And then like I don't want to play West Virginia's quarterback. And like I like some of the other pieces, right? Like I think Prather's fine. I think Ford Wheaton's okay. But like, I don't know. Again, it's like there's a lot of these massive totals. And then like I want to get pieces of it, but I struggle to get there. So I don't know how much of this game I'm going to get. I think it's going to be one where I keep some of these guys in the pool and kind of see like what the injury news comes out with at 3:30, because I think that's going to be really, really important with some of the Texas Tech guys if Price happens not to play.
Don't wait till 3:30 or you're going to miss the boat on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously not till 3:30, but you have to make sure that because that's a 3:00 game. That's why. Oh, interesting. They never do it in that sequence. That's interesting. So yeah, got to make sure you're in the Discord chat checking that out.
I say that half joking, but it happens to me a lot in college because we always do our times. You come back to the computer, you check news. So if you can't come back to the computer, say at 3, thinking it's at 3:30, you're going to be sadly disappointed. Is the whole reason I threw it out there.
No, you're right. I thought you were just trolling me. I thought you were being like, oh, 3:30, that's when lock it. It's like, yeah.
I was joking, but I want people to know, like, because they will on a Saturday, we do shit. Like everyone goes and does stuff. You got to have your like time marks of what you need to check in on. So check in a little bit earlier on that game.
Yeah, by the way, someone else mentioned in the chat, Josh said 22-mile-per-hour winds in the Oklahoma State game too. This is one of the weird slates where there's actually wind gusts in a lot of games, right? This is another one. West Virginia, Texas Tech, 15 to 20 mile per hour winds with strong gusts. The Cincy SMU game had the same thing. Kansas and Baylor has 20 sustained mile per hour winds and strong gusts. UNLV has 10 to 15. UCLA, Oregon, there's some rain possibly. Texas, Oklahoma State, like you said, 20 to 25 with strong gusts. So there are some like windy situations, and like these dudes are not like, top tier quarterbacks that can just like sling it really easily. So it's something to think a little bit about if these games get a little dusty, and maybe they're pounding the rock a little bit more in some of these games.
Fair enough. Bruce, you gave your thoughts on this game as well, right? We're all good?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're, and Tony, you talked on it, right? Yes, we're good to move on.
Yep.
LSU, Ole Miss, I got, looks like 33.5 LSU, 31.5 Ole Miss. For folks wondering why Ole Miss is even an underdog here, Ole Miss has played no one this year. So they deserve to be an underdog here. Now, granted, they've looked really good, but at least LSU has had some girth to their schedule. In this spot, look, this is typically a spot where you just kind of like to play Daniels from LSU, but I don't love his price. It feels like they really priced him up after his monster week last week. And it also looks like Boot, is it Butte? Bruce?
That's right. Yep.
Literal first round pick, right? I mean, I don't know why this guy is like barely used, but
he finally broke out though, Dunkel. He finally got it going.
They finally got him involved, which maybe that becomes a new trend for him. He's only 5,300. And again, we talk about Rashee Rice. Like, I think this dude's projected to go in front of him, right? I mean, is it true? Right. So he's just in a different system, but Butte has NFL talent for sure. Neighbors is good too, which makes it even more tilting because Butte is just a much better projection at the next level. This is an interesting spot though on the Ole Miss side. So Jackson Dart is still underpriced. The dude definitely has 5x upside at this price. I don't love the matchup. I think this is going to be the toughest defense they've seen this year. And here's where I get so tilted. So Judkins and Evans, these dudes are 15 to 20% every week, and I never understand it. They get 15 to 20 touches max each, and you're really hoping that one of them explodes on one of these carries.
How dare you, Dunkel? I'm talking about an RPS legend. He's 15% owned because he goes for 20 plus every week.
Anyway,
he went for 36 last week. Is he under owned or over owned? What are you saying?
I'm saying that I'm tilted that he is that high owned every week, and he just blasts projections every week. That's what I'm saying. So yeah,
Bruce, send him the YouTube video, please.
So I am not questioning the guy's talent. I just think in a timeshare, you just really need things to go right for this team. And look, they've scored 48, 52 the last 2 weeks. This game's going to be a little more of a slug for them, though. At least you would expect it to be. And they may even be trailing, which might change the script for them. I'm just more in tune with the passing game this week. But again, Ole Miss has just been so shitty in trying to project passing games. I mean, DraftKings made it seem like Mingo and what's his name? Heath didn't even play last week. They did. They just didn't record a single catch. So yeah, overall, I think out of this entire game, to me, it's really the quarterbacks. If you're going to go anything, and Butte for LSU, you can definitely slide him in. And don't forget, Mingo has huge upside when they decide they're going to throw the ball in a football game. So interesting GPP dart, if you will, on the Mingo side. But I'm interested in your guys' thoughts, because while I disagreed with the loading up of Judkins, Evans on the previous weeks, at least it made sense from Ole Miss's team total perspective. Their offense was going to get going. It made a lot of sense in those avenues. This game, again, figures to snail a little more than Ole Miss likes. So, Big T, I'll start with you, considering I know you're a big Judkins guy. How are you approaching him in this game in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I just have played him all year, and kind of when you're on that wave and you keep playing a guy and they keep, I mean, he did one for 36 last week and he was low owned in my mind. Like, some people might think he's high owned, but when you get him at 15% every week and he just keeps crushing, I'm just going to keep playing him. But that's just how I am in all sports. Like, if a guy keeps coming through for me, like when I bet on Mangone on the slab and he comes through, I stick with him. But when he gets shut out and he has some issues out there, I got to get off him a little bit. So
That's fine. Stay off, Tony. I don't want you on my side.
I mean, I wasn't hopping back unless you play Snyder. If you play Snyder, I'm on. But anyone else, I'm off. I don't know. Like, why do we think this is going to be a snail's pace? Both teams are going to play up in pace. Ole Miss always shoots out. Why? It's a 65 total. Why are we thinking it's not a good pace, Dunkel?
My thing is this will be the best defense they've seen all year. They're on the road. When I say snail, I don't necessarily mean the game's going to crawl. I mean, both these teams play at above average pace as far as the play clock goes. But I just think these teams' defenses are better than folks maybe think. LSU is an offense that's tough to trust to begin with. And Ole Miss's offense is obviously really good, but their defense has been better this year for sure. I just think it's not going to be like and again, Ole Miss has scored 50 back-to-back weeks. I mean, if you think you're going to score 50 again, yeah, go ahead and load up on Ole Miss. But this to me feels like a 30-27 type game. And if you get the right pieces in that score, then great. I think I have other spots I like to target in these similar price ranges on this slate.
Yeah, I mean, and I made fun of Daniels last week. As Mangone knows, he can dunk on me. I mean, the dude just nuked, just freaking nuked out of the gate for K. Fallick, I think, had him. We still had a good night slate even without him, but man, did he crush. I still think he kind of sucks, but like you guys said, Booty is not Booty anymore. He was Booty early in the year, and now he's back to Butte. Neighbors is good. Josh Williams at 3K looks pretty decent too. Is another, again, we might not need that much value this week depending on how you build, but at 3K, I think he's interesting. And Ole Miss, I just the same every week. I just play Judkins, so it's an easy. You could play Dart, but man, it's rough when you look at the receivers and you literally see zeros for a full game. It's tough for me. So I would just be Judkins with Daniels paired with one of those receivers. I really like Butte. I don't know. I could be talked into this game. 5,300 seems pretty egregious to me. Even though he started the year slow, he's come back-to-back games with, 8 catches? Let me pull him up real quick. 8 catches at 5,300 or 6 catches. My fault. 6 catches back-to-back weeks. NFL talent. I don't know. I feel like 5,300 is too cheap. Kind of like Michael Mayer. It just feels too cheap for these guys.
What do you think, Bruce?
Yeah, same. Feel about the same. This is a big step up in class for Ole Miss. They could struggle here. I don't love Judkins and Evans like I have previous weeks. And do love Josh Williams here. Armani Goodwin is supposedly back for LSU, which kind of jumbles the backfield a little bit more, but 3K for him isn't a bad punt. I think I'd prefer the Baylor running back to him, but still he has touchdown upside there, as he's pretty much in every goal line run. Also Boutte, just a solid play. Watkins for Ole Miss at 4K is on the field almost every snap. I think he's a transfer from Louisville, 4 targets per game. Not a bad option for cheap. But yeah, other than that, I don't love the game. You can make a case for Daniels. He's going to see some ownership today just because he has that rushing upside we like, and Dart as well. I think Dart's going a little bit overlooked, under-owned as well. So, but I don't mind Daniels here. Just kind of in that spot that Jefferson was in last week, where a lot of people didn't play him and he just absolutely smashed against BYU. So that's pretty much it on that game.
Mangone, what about you?
Yeah, this game, it's definitely a good one that you have to like. I mean, Jaden Daniels, he definitely got the job done last week. And he was only like 2%. Now he's like 25%. It's like there are other guys in that range to consider, but the good thing is you got Booty right there, who is kind of a nice correlation play that helps bring some of like the full salary of the stack down, right? I mean, yeah, you're playing Daniels at 7.7, but if you pair him up with Booty, well, that's kind of nice, right? You get him at like only 5.4. That's kind of a nice little pairing that you can go with. And then you can play like one of the running backs if you'd like, or you can play Watkins at 4K. I don't even mind putting Dart in there with Watkins because that's a nice little cheap stack. So if you are looking for a quarterback wide receiver like game stack where you can like make both happen, I do think this is one that's in the conversation also because of what it does for the full lineup. I mean, like I said, Daniels and Dart, and then pairing up Booty and then putting in Watkins, that's just really cheap and allows you to have a lot of studs within your lineup. So it's one that I'll look at and kind of consider a little bit. It is frustrating dealing with the Ole Miss situation. And then your boy, who's 3K, I think it's Josh Williams, Dunkel. I don't know if he's going to be able to be the back to go to today, just because I know that it's getting a little more crowded in that backfield. Yes, he's still cheap and they are going to put up a lot of points, but I don't think I'm going to get to him as much today. And at Judkins, he's probably not even going to come in at 15% Big T. I think he's going to come in less. So you might not even have to get as much. So that'll be another guy to look at here in this game. He's in the pool for me. And the reason why I think Judkins will come in lower, there's a lot of running backs that we're going to get to that are really good in like the 6K range and that high 5K range that just people are gravitating towards. So I do think Judkins is going to be probably single digits on this slate.
All right, cool. So let's move on to the next game. So obviously a big one here, Oregon, UCLA. So Bo Nix, 9,300, DTR 7,900. To me, I project them both the same. So undoubtedly, I have to have more Robinson. Even though I don't like playing quarterbacks on the road in these types of spots. Charbonnet at 6,700 is too cheap. So there's obviously him as well. The receiving game gets a little more complicated because both these quarterbacks are dual threats and both of them seem to sporadically target their studs. Franklin is probably the best talent Oregon has, but they don't treat him as such. And Chase Cott is okay, 4,800, probably playable, but again, nothing you really love. To me, obviously, if you're looking to stack this game, it's probably best to go Nix on one end and Charbonnet on the other. But again, price-wise, it feels like you're really overpaying for Nix here. It doesn't even feel like you are. But man, like it's hard to ignore his numbers the last 5 games. I mean, the dude's floor is 30, and he's in a matchup where he's going to get sped up. But man, it just feels like this is just not an ideal spot to play Bo Nix at this price. Let me ask you this, Bruce. What are you seeing Bo Nix's ownership at today?
He's probably going to be the most owned quarterback today. So.
Isn't that crazy how perception changes like that in a few weeks?
Mm-hmm.
He goes from unowned at 5,500 in a better matchup than this, and now he's in this matchup 4K higher, and now everybody's going to play him. So I just find it interesting because the guy's been very not touchdown dependent, but you really need him to get you rushing touchdowns. I mean, I guess you could look at the 1 week against WSU where He didn't have any rushing touchdowns, but he threw for like 450 yards. He's just been really good. So called a fabric of the system over there. But at 9,300 on this slate, it makes it really tough to squeeze him in when you just don't have as many cheap options everywhere else. But look, if you think he can get you 35 in this spot, he's probably worth it, because on a slate where you're really going to grind for points. But again, to me, DTR projects the same, and he's 1,400 cheaper, so I'll probably go there. So you're seeing Knicks higher than DTR ownership wise.
Yeah.
To me, that's a little silly, just because, again, I project them myself pretty similar. But other than that, it's real scary, and I could see why Bo Nix gets projections, because then it makes the other side easy, right? You just play Charbonnet on the other side, right? So it does make sense in that regard. But Big T, these are type of games you usually like. How are you approaching this one?
Yeah, you got massive ceilings, massive floors, and easy to know where the ball's going. These teams are not going to spread it around that much. I mean, everything's going to go through Bo Nix. You don't know which receiver, who else from Oregon is going to do good. So that makes it easy. You just play Bo. This is one of the spots Mangone was talking about. There's not really a receiver. You could play some of these guys, but you just don't need to in college. Just take Bo and move on. And then the other side, I mean, I'm still offended from reading in the chat that my main man Bruce has freaking Bobo over. Who'd you have him over? One of the guys I thought, Zay Flowers, the hero of all heroes. You got Bobo over him. I'm very, very offended. It's like when Mangone was putting, I saw it out of the corner of my eye. You freaking talking about Bobo over my boy. That was hurtful, but I don't know. This looks like a clearer path to me. Bo, Charbonnet, but I think you could play DTR too. Like, I think you could play the little 3-man stack there and get literally all the offense in a 71 total. So that's something I might be interested in. I don't think I can play any receivers though. Played Bobo the one way. I just don't think they have ceilings unless you fade Charbonnet. If you fade him, which is tough, I just can't play the receivers, I don't think. So I'm on the 3-man stack.
Okay. Bruce, what about you?
Yeah, I just like Bobo this week over Flowers. I think Flowers has a tough matchup. Last year against Wake, he had 1 reception for 1 yard. So it's just a tough matchup for him. Bobo has a great matchup this week. I think Oregon has given up 41 DraftKings points per game to wide receivers, and their pass defense has just been terrible. So this is one of the only games, the high total games, that the total has actually increased this week. So it's probably my favorite stack of the week. There are some expensive pieces here. Troy Franklin, the wide receiver for Oregon, is elite, but seven grand for him is tough to justify. I think DTR is going to see lower ownership just because of Charbonnet. People don't like to play their quarterbacks with their running back, so that's why I could see him lower on the Knicks. But yeah, I had enough salary to get Knicks in cash just because of all the 3K guys that are available to us. But yeah, this is probably one of my favorite games. You could even talk me into playing someone like Bucky Irving at 5,500. Should see 40% of the snaps, and just UCLA has been gashed on the ground. I think South Alabama put it on them on the ground too. So it's just a good spot.
So I got 1 point too, just because when Bruce was talking, I thought about it. These are the spots I've shipped a ton of tournaments over the years where I fade Charbonnet, and this is strictly just a big field tournament play that could ship. You play Bo Nix with Troy Franklin, like no one's going to play Franklin at 7K. And then you play DTR with Bobo and Casimir Allen, you double stack it, and you fade Charbonnet. You got the full passing games in a 71 total. You're fading some chalk and Charbonnet. And maybe it's just the game just nukes through the air. And even if Charbonnet does good, there's other spots. But literally, no one does that. Like, no one overstacks the games like that can nuke with 2 quarterbacks that have massive, massive upsides. I kind of like that for because I play 3 main teams in college. I kind of like that for one of my main teams.
Can't argue it. Mangone, you haven't touched on this game yet. What do you like?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing you love to see is just Big T, supporting my no one's playing the quarterbacks and the receivers angle. But then he comes over the top there with that. One guy you might be interested in, Big T, that hasn't been mentioned in this game, that could fit your little narrative there of like the game stack and get you all the studs. Are you interested in a 3K Cam Brown? I mean, Cam Brown for 3K and his 71.5 total. I know some of the snaps have increased for him too over the past couple of weeks. Bruce, do you have any takes on him? Because I think he is like a sneaky gem. That could be the guy that, listen, we don't need him to get 20 DK points, but he'd get us 14 to 15, catch that touchdown, and set up that game stack so well when you play DTR, you play Knicks, and if you want to grab a Franklin, like Big T was talking about, and still allow you to play really good teams around your lineup. What's your thoughts on Cam Brown, Bruce?
I like him too. I think in the games that they've been like close or competitive, he's seen a lot more targets. He's a transfer from Texas A&M. He's big wide receiver, plays outside. So yeah, he has big upside too.
Yeah. So I got Cam
Big
Brown
upside. Like where?
He's seen six targets a couple games ago when it was close. So yeah, I think they target him in the end zone as well, in the red zone.
He's 3K, Tony.
Yeah.
He's
4
3K.
3,900, unless I'm looking at the wrong guy.
Yeah, 3,900.
3,900. Sorry.
He has
Oh, that is a
3
decent
touchdowns,
difference.
too.
We always talk about 4K to 3K.
It's a little bit of a difference.
I mean, it is a decent difference. If he was 3K, I would definitely like it. I mean, that's 25% more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I don't think salary's as loose, but I would look at it. I don't think it's as bad. What is what's the other one? Allen's 5'4", so you are getting a $1,600 discount, I guess, from that or so. So that's at least nice. I would look at the builds with him. I just think it's pretty interesting with Cam Brown. So
I mean, you are right though. I don't ever I'm not too stubborn. Like I click on Casimir Allen, he doesn't show me much upside either. So you could be right about the savings. So if I make fun of your play, I have to make fun of Casimir Allen too, because like they look similar for the same or 1,500 cheaper.
Yeah, and I like Jake Bobo a lot. Like I'm definitely on the Bobo train. I want to load up on DTR today. Like I might even hit the lock button on him at quarterback. I think it's
a good move. I do.
I think he's like the
stone. And if Bruce loves Bobo, like I've had tons of success doing this. You just freaking play DTR and Bobo, lock them if you want, and like you're in your high field. And Bruce loves them. He crushes with these receiver plays.
So why don't we play Charbonnet too? Why don't we just play all three, collect everything, put Bo Nix in, those 4 guys? You don't even have to mess with the Oregon receivers. And
I just don't like in tournaments. I just don't like Charbonnet with that stack. I don't know. I mean, you needed to totally nuke.
In the lower fields, it could absolutely nuke with all these games that have been going
I like it more in small
everything.
fields for sure. I'm with you there because you're not going to need as much upside. But like in that big field tournament, like, man, you need so much upside in college.
No, agree there. But I think in the smaller fields, just like condensing on that game is not a bad idea. And like I said, there's a lot of games that have these like 20, 25 mile per hour winds. And yes, there is going to be some rain in that game, but sometimes rain leads just like absolute, like just amazing games. So, and it could go the other way too. It could absolutely be dust, but it's 71.5 total. I always look at the total to see if the weather is going to drive it down. So that's something to look at too, as we kind of get closer to lock as well.
Cool. Move on. Obviously we're a little behind schedule, but we could move this along a little quicker. Oklahoma State, Texas. Look, Spencer Sanders continues to get there for you in this 7K range. I mean, high 7K range. Don't love this matchup, I'll be honest, and I am a Sanders guy. I play him a lot. Quinn Ewers on the other end is a better play at 6,400 from a price per dollar standpoint. Robinson, it's really odd. Like, and maybe this is a hot take. And Bruce, I'm actually interested in your thoughts here. It just seems like when Rashawn, when he's in the game, just seems to run better. I don't know. I know Bijan projects really well at the next level. But like maybe it's because Rashawn comes in with fresh legs and carries the ball 2 or 3 times and then he's back on the bench. But man, it just feels like in all these short, like Bijan, it feels like could have like an additional 8 touchdowns this year. I don't know what his conversion rate inside the 5 is, but he's been terrible. At least when I've seen it anyway. But his price is like way up there today. I think this is the highest he's been priced all year. Matchup isn't super ideal either. So I assume he's going to see, I think last week he was only 15%. He's probably going to be even less than that on this slate. Richardson at 6,500 is in play, but woof. Don't exactly love it. Braden Johnson, who's cost me a lot of money this year. I'm glad they priced him at 6,700 because he's unplayable for me, which probably means he's going to nuke the slate. Xavier Worthy at 6,100 paired with Ewers is one of the better combos on this slate, in my opinion. Both these guys are super cheap, super affordable. They have high ceilings. They have high floors. So as far as approaching this game, that's the way I look at it. I don't think you need to run back either. I'm not in love with the Oklahoma State side today. But I do think Ewers and Worthy together is a good option at their prices. But Mangone, I'll kick it to you for this first take. What do you like in this game, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, another tough game here where it's like, okay, I like playing Spencer Sanders, but like, what receivers am I in love with? I think Green is not a bad one at 4.6. I don't mind going to him. Also, it's like kind of like DTR in a way. Well, you got DTR and you got Charbonnet, and then you have Sanders, and then you have Richardson. So like, it's just one of those weird spots where I want to play some Sanders. I think he's solid. I think he's that's one reason I don't want to play Daniels as much for LSU, because I think Sanders is kind of a better play. Also, you got Texas going against a pass D that's not very good, and Xavier Worthy, who's a great play at 6.1K. I mean, I think you can make a case he's one of the better wide receiver plays in the slate. Like, one big decision point you might have, or someone in the chat, I'm sure will just say it, why not play both Zay Flowers or Xavier Worthy? I mean, that's a tough decision. Or you can just play both of them. I think they're both going to have a lot of ownership. I think they're both very elite plays, but definitely like Xavier Worthy. Didn't talk about Robinson yet. I think he's a great play, but I just don't know if I'm going to be able to get up to him today. I don't know if he's going to be an option that I end up throwing into my lineups. Also, because Oklahoma State, I know in the past game, they can get torched a ton. And I do think that Ewers, am I saying the name right? Ewers or Ewers? I'm probably saying it wrong, but he's someone that for cheap at quarterback at a position that we don't like love today. Like, we have some expensive guys that we like. I do think he's in the conversation to do in a stack with Xavier Worthy, and then like run it back with Spencer Sanders. And then if you want to throw Green in there, I think you can, but I don't think you need to. I don't think it's like a necessity, because we know what Spencer Sanders can do on the ground. And I think you could make the case Spencer Sanders should be like priced up even higher. You could make the case he should be like 8.
Bruce, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Sanders for Texas. I play every week. Is he hurt today? I know that he left the game last week with an injury, or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. Is he full go today? Do you know?
I think so. We should have some word closer to kick off, but I think he was okay last week. He just it may have been an ankle issue.
Okay. And then what are your thoughts for this game overall?
Yeah, with the wind, this total's come down 6 points since earlier in the week. So I think that also has to do something with Spencer Sanders' shoulder. Supposedly he's been really dinged up. He looked really bad throwing the ball down the field last week too. I would suggest not playing Braden Johnson because of the wind, and that price is just crazy. You can look at someone like a John Paul Richardson at 4,400, works in the short areas of the field, along with like a Jordan Whittington as well, 5,400. If Sanders goes, he's a great play. Same with Worthy. He does do some work down the field, as well as his depth of targets, usually around 19 or so. So it's a little scary, but as you saw last week, he ran a great route to score that game-winning touchdown against Iowa State. But yeah, I think Bijan's in play here. He's more of a shifty guy compared to Roschon, and Texas doesn't block the run very well. So sometimes you see Roschon come in and guys just bounce off of him because of the fresh legs, and Bijan, he just has to make moves in the hole, and it's just a different style runner, I guess. But he is averaging 4 yards after contact per attempt, which is close to tops in the country. So, and Roschon is actually a little bit better, which is crazy. But yeah, I love this game earlier in the week. I don't see how you can play Spencer Sanders with his shoulder issue and the wind. Ewers is fine at that price. Worthy's fine. Whittington's fine. But yeah, I don't love it as much as I did earlier.
What about you, Big T? What do you like in this game?
Yeah, feel very confident in this game. I mean, Texas to go on the road and be favored by 6 tells me Sanders isn't playing or he's not healthy. And I couldn't even imagine playing Sanders. Like it's got to be one of the worst plays of the slate. I think Texas just mops this team. I love Bijan. I love Worthy. I think it's blowout city, like 5 touch, like big time victory here. I think they pound them.
And so just Robinson for you though on the Texas side?
No, Worthy too. I like Worthy, but both of those guys.
Okay. Boston College, Wake Forest. Now, you've already mentioned briefly in the show, Zay Flowers has been a hero to many this year. This matchup, even though it's a blowout, I don't look at this as a bad matchup at all for Zay Flowers. That Wake secondary is certainly susceptible. I'll tell you this, though. It seems like Jerkovic has really fallen from grace. This dude was a legend a few years ago, at least as far as I'm concerned. But he has, I don't know if it's a new OC, whatever the hell's going on over there. But I remember him in the tight end. I forgot the tight end's name, which was like every week he locked them in. But yeah, different team now. Sam Hartman, it feels like he's going to go unowned in this spot. What do you see his ownership at, Bruce?
Yeah, it's going to be low. Let's see, probably around 5%, 5 to 10, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I mean, he has upside for sure. Granted, the matchup's not super ideal, but Boston College is not the defense they once were. This game has sneaky potential, but again, another game where I feel like DraftKings priced it right, which makes it tough to really love anything. I personally don't love anything. I'll have some Flowers exposure, but I assume he's going to see ownership regardless. He'll see ownership on every slate when he's less than 6K. Bruce, I'll kick it back to you. Anything in this game?
Yeah, I think Flowers is going to be high owned here. I'm mostly staying away. This is a bad offensive line. That's mainly Jerkovic's problem. They can't run the football. I think Wake has been really good on defense this year, surprisingly. So mostly staying away from that BC side. I think their running back is terrible. Their offensive line, 1.68 line yards on the offensive line, easily could be the worst in the country. And they can't block for Jerkovic. So that's really, really concerning. I think Wake just crush BC today. I don't mind an AT Perry play for Wake. Just 27% target share and 4 touchdowns on the year. Just a good play. He is expensive, but there's just so many good value plays. You can just lock him in there. Hartman as well. If you play AT Perry, just slam Hartman in there too. It just seems like a game they should just demolish BC.
Mangone, thoughts on this one?
Yeah, AT Perry is definitely a good play. One of those contrarian spend up receivers. I think Sam Hartman is another good quarterback option that you can go to if you'd like. Zay Flowers, I definitely think he's in play. I am kind of a little cautious with him just because I think there's a lot of good options in that range. I'll definitely have him in the pool. I'll probably get some exposure to him, but I don't know. I think Xavier Worthy could be a better play than him possibly, but he doesn't get the great trailing game script, which is awesome for him against Wake Forest. But you do have to worry about, does Wake just get up and absolutely own them and Boston College just a disaster, or can they keep enough pressure? And if they do, Zay Flowers will be involved. So I think it's really looking at like the Hartman, AT Perry, and Zay Flowers stacks mainly, and then kind of moving on from there.
Big T, what about you?
Yeah, this is my favorite game of the day. Hartman to AT Perry. AT Perry is like by far my favorite play of the day. He's going to nuke this BC team. He's not going to be owned either on top of it, which is my favorite part. Like, you can get this whole stack in this game solo owned. No one's going to play Jerkovic. Flowers is going to be owned, obviously, but not as part of a full stack. And this game's going to shoot out. It's going to crush. It's going to win people money. I love AT Perry. I might lock him. Zay Flowers crushes every week. Hartman either like gets you like nothing or he just smashes. I think this is the smash. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. Another thing I like about it, I don't really like the other Wake receivers all that much. So it's really, really, this dude just absolutely crushed this guy in this fight. But yeah, it's very easy. Hartman and Perry, Jerkovic and Flowers. I love spots like that on slates like this where there's a lot of unknowns. So I think it shoots out. Absolutely love it.
Cool. That's definitely what I'll consider a hot take. So yeah, kudos. Wisconsin, Purdue, ugly game. As some of you may know, I'm a big Aiden O'Connell guy, primarily because he's almost always 6K and he's almost always in play at this price. But Wisconsin is a snail. And yes, O'Connell can get there. I worry about his upside in this spot. I like to play O'Connell because I feel like in fast tempo games, he has a lot of upside throwing the football. This is just not a typical game for him. He may not even have Charlie Jones, which is another problem. I play these guys on every slate, and every slate they just burn me. And it only makes sense that last week they were in the night slate when I didn't play. But in regards to this slate, I'm going to be as underweight as I've been this year on Charlie Jones and Aiden O'Connell for some obvious reasons. On the other end, so it looks like finally Braylon Allen owns this backfield. I know Malusi was out, which helped. I don't know if he's going to be out again. Oh, it looks like he is because he had surgery. Allen is in a really good spot this week. 7,400. Dude's definitely got 30-point upside. Outside of that, though, I don't love anything. It would be me, it's Allen or bust in this game. Mangone, I'll kick it to you first here. Same sentiments, or are you going a different path in this game?
Yeah, no, you were making fun of our boy Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown got the job done last week for me and Big T. We were rooting him on hard. I don't know. I mean, Charlie's expected to suit up, I think, Dunkel, right? I mean, Bruce, is there anything different that I'm not seeing on that? What's your thoughts on that, Bruce? I think he's going to play, right?
Yeah, he's been banged up, missed practice a couple days this week, so just something to watch for the later games.
Yeah, he has heart, Dunkel. So we're gonna play some Charlie Jones today. Braylon Allen's got a nice little run back option, I think, at 7-4. That's a cheap price on Braylon Allen. I also don't think this isn't like a smash Braylon Allen spot by any means. You can look at what Minnesota did against Purdue, and it wasn't great. Obviously, that was the game that Ibrahim was holding the helmet, and then Trey Potts didn't do much. But I do think Braylon Allen, this is a spot where at 7-4 in the price, it's definitely interesting for sure. So I don't mind doing like the O'Connell with Charlie Jones and Braylon Allen, like stack and calling it a day. And then even Maccabee, I don't think I'd sleep on completely. That dude was like all over the place last week. And it does seem like he could have another good game. And at 5'8", he's not really going to be owned. He was owned in the night slate because he was 4-5 and like it was a great spot against Nebraska. And again, this is not the perfect spot, but I do think there's some good opportunities for these guys. And on a slate where there's a lot of like games that like there's some that we like, and then there's some that, I think we would have liked if there wasn't as much weather. I think this is a game to kind of think a little bit more about.
What about you, Big T? How you approaching this one?
Yeah, I like the running back. So all the past weeks I've been on this show, I haven't done it every week, but I talk about these volume running backs that go under owned. And this week, there's not many of those spots, and they've crushed every week. If you've played them and you've watched this show, you've been happy with the results, especially last week. Those guys nuked. This week, there's not many, but Braylon Allen is definitely one of them at 7,400. He had one bad game where just everything went wrong versus Illinois, I think it was. Every other game, though, the dude has got a bunch of carries and a bunch of fantasy points, and that just makes it sound simple, but it's true. I think he's in a good spot, and he's going to be under 20% owned, and that is a good thing for me. Love the volume guys. And Maccabee, like Mangone just talked about, I remember Dunkel's so sharp. I mean, he's got freaking Knicks at 5K. Now he's 9K. Maccabee at 3K when I was in New York. Now he's 5,800. I mean, that's why he ships every week. He's 4K ahead on all of these guys. Maccabee looks like a stud. We were rooting him on last week. He looks good, man. 5,800 looks underpriced to me. So I'm on the running backs here. Unfortunately, I'm not going to play our boy Charlie this week. He is a good play. I just don't think I need it on this slate. He looked banged up, too. I know he kept going in and out of that game. I'm going to fade our boy Charlie. I hope he makes me pay, though, out of respect.
I want to go on record. I hope he doesn't make me pay because he's made me pay. He's made me pay every week I play him. And it would only make sense that he nukes today. Bruce, of course, last but not least, thoughts on this game?
I'm staying away from Braylon Allen today, just because they've actually come out and said that they're going to try and limit his touches. Whether that's true or not. He even said that he's going to take himself out more often. I guess it's kind of up to him.
He said he's going to take himself out. I can't play quitters. I mean, I might have to take him out of my list if he's a quitter.
I was reading this last night that he said he needs to do a better job of getting himself out and getting Garindo, which is the backup, in there more.
I'm not playing him then. He's a quitter.
Who's the quitter?
Braylon Allen's a quitter, Bruce said. I can't play quitters.
Yeah,
That's hurtful.
he just said he needs to get himself out, and the coaches said that they need to monitor his touches as well this week. So, yeah, it's a little more sketchy for me there. Maccabee got 30 carries last week, so he missed some practice this week. Said he was banged up. He is a freshman walk-on, so that makes a little bit of sense. I do like our guy DK again, or Dyke, however you say it.
Dyke, we call him Dyke on this show.
All right, that works. He's 6K, but in the games that have been close, he had 10 and 11 targets the 2 previous weeks. So he did score a touchdown last week also. He's just a good play. He's been crushing ever since they made the coaching change. So I think they're just trying to get him the football a little bit more. But yeah, other than that, I don't love this game, so I'm pretty much staying away other than Dyke.
And just to confirm, all three of you spoke on this game, right?
It's hurtful you're not listening to us, but yes.
2 games left, Tulane, Memphis. We got Michael Pratt for Tulane. To me, is pound for pound one of the best plays in the slate at quarterback. You can easily pair him with Watts at 5K. Problem is the run back is a little trickier because it's easier to play Spears at running back for Tulane, but the Memphis end is very difficult to love anything. Prescorn's overpriced. Ivory's probably their best receiver, but they don't throw him the football. So, and running back for Memphis is a disaster. I also hate targeting anything Memphis related on the road. This team's a totally different team on the road. It's probably why they're a 7-point dog here. But yeah, I think it's tough to love Pratt, and I don't know what he's going to come in at ownership because of it. It's, you pair him with Watts, but Watts has been touchdown dependent. But to me, it's an easy pairing between the two of them at low prices. And again, Pratt has good amount of upside at this price. Bruce, I'll kick it to you to start. Anything you love in this game?
I love Pratt. Just a great play. I love Spears too. So it's if I don't play him together, it's going to be a tough decision. I think Memphis just gets destroyed here. They're coming off 2 tough losses, and defense isn't very good this season. So could see Spears have a huge game. Pratt as well. They're both cheap enough. You could actually play them together and hope that they score all the touchdowns here. So I don't hate that in like a single entry or cash setting. So on the Memphis side, yeah, I just don't want to touch anything there. Receiver for Tulane, you could play like a Jaquan Jackson, who's kind of their deep threat. But yeah, I like the quarterback, and you can just run Pratt naked there and play Spears. So yeah, this is I thought Pratt would show more ownership, but it actually looks pretty low. So I might be locking him in a couple lineups.
Yeah, Pratt is a typical guy in college football that I will be overweight on. Spot makes a ton of sense. He's home. He has rushing upside. He has rushing touchdown upside. And so, yeah, and his price is kind of ridiculous on the slate, to be honest. Big T, how are you approaching this game?
Yeah, it's a tough game for me. Just looking at a lot of the pieces, I don't love a lot of the pieces. And again, in college, you just got to make decisions on certain plays. And I don't disagree with you guys that Pratt, or whatever the dude, is that his name? Pratt is a good play. There's so many quarterbacks. You got to decide which directions to go. You can't just play them all. I'm just going to play the running back here. I mean, Spears 5,700 just looks like a great play. That's where I'm going to get my exposure from. I don't mind going the other way. There should be points in this game. I just don't love the teams. It's kind of one, I forget what other game I was talking about earlier where I thought there'd be points, but I didn't really know where they would come from. That's how I feel here. I'm just going to play Spears.
What about you, Mangone?
Yeah, I do think Pratt's in play. I think I like the Spears call. I like playing both of them. Maybe just keep them separate from teams. I don't even mind running Pratt naked. And I mean, it's just one of the problems. It's like, yeah, Pratt's fine, but like, what receiver do you want to run back with him? Again, like, it's just like the problem on this slate when you run into all these teams, not a lot of quarterback, wide receiver options that you love pairing up together. So Pratt's fine. And he's mainly going to be a guy that I feel like I can play him at that 6.3K price tag because he's cheap enough where I feel like I don't have to pair him with other options, and he just be kind of can become a value play that also has rushing upside, like you talked about, Dunkel, and can just be one of those value plays that helps get everything home and make things work. So I'll definitely have exposure to him and Spears in this game. Hennigan's okay, but the more I'm like thinking about it, I don't know how much I want to get at him. So I think there's other spots, and mainly Pratt and Spears for me.
Okay. Last but not least, what do we got here?
Now that I'm remembering my New York week and how sharp fucking Dunkel is, the 2 3K guys I played that week were McClellan and who was the other dude that you just that went up? Both the dudes were 3K and now they're 5,800 this week. Maccabee, that literally 2 weeks ago, Dunkel played him at 3K and now they're both 5,800 this week.
Let's give some credit to Bruce. Maccabee's Bruce's big guy. Bruce has been a big Maccabee guy for.
Was it him that got him on? Was I giving you too much credit?
Yeah, it feels like since 1997, Bruce has liked Maccabee since he was born. But all right, yeah. So let's hold on the last game. So Stanford, Arizona State, I believe. To me, these are pound for pound your best running backs of the slate. Shadrick Thompson is obviously a guy I'm going to be overweight on. I don't know if a lot of people will be, but the 2 running backs in this slate have high floors. The Stanford kid gets a tremendous amount of volume, and so does Valladay as well. I remember him from Wyoming. Dude was an absolute freak there. But in this game, it makes it tough for the passing options. I think, is it Higgins, wide receiver for Stanford? To me, he's in play at 4,400. But the 2 running backs are really the main ones. I think you can also, if you'd like, play the Stanford quarterback because he's cheap. But again, you're really looking for upside. I think he lacks that. Mangone, I'll start with you. Obviously, this could be in the last game, but what are your thoughts here and your thoughts on the running backs specifically?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Definitely have to like Valladay, have to like Filkins. I think they're both really strong plays. Guys that you should consider. I wouldn't hate if you really wanted to punt down to an Emory Jones, but I probably won't end up getting to him. But I just know what his rushing ability can be. And obviously Stanford not good against the run, but definitely Valladay and Filkins are 2 of the better plays in the slate. Also, Stanford has some value wide receivers that are interesting. Higgins is one of them. And then there's a 3K receiver that's not bad on their team. I'm blanking on who it is. Bruce, who's the 3K guy that they have?
The tight end.
Urosek.
Yes, Urosek. I knew Bruce would know who it is. It's
tight end. Humphreys is there too. He's the guy that's going to take over for Michael Wilson.
Okay. Well, I think
those guys are tight end.
Like, what?
Urosek's a tight end, Bruce.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Baby.
Yeah, and he's 3K. So like, what he can do for your lineup, and like you can play Valladay and then play Urosek, right? And like that's like a nice little correlation play if you don't want to play a Filkins. But all good plays. This is definitely a game I think you want to get a little bit of exposure to, and mainly because of they have 2 great plays in Valladay and then Filkins, and then those receivers give you a little bit of value for your lineups that could help be like a piece to make everything work.
What about you, Big T? This feels like a game where you'll love the running backs.
Yeah, you have to love the running backs. I think everyone will. They're just priced nice. They got high floors, high ceilings. They're just really good plays. But Stanford being short at receiver, I do think these guys have sneaky upside. Higgins, Urosek, whoever the other guy is, Bruce said. Basically, the guys they have on the field should get pretty good volume versus this Arizona State team. So I don't know. Like, they're not going to hit your builds when you run the optimizer. But I do think they're very, very, especially Higgins could catch 10 balls today, and he's only 4,400. So I don't know. I think you have to have some interest, but the running backs are obviously good plays. Dude in the chat said he's got 2 qualifiers. He doesn't know how I make 3 teams. You take stands and you stack a few games. You don't, I mean, I don't know. I've always been decent at just taking stands. And if you win, you win. You lose, you move on to tomorrow. Like, it is what it is.
Bruce, what about you? Thoughts on this game?
This game's kind of rough for me, just because both teams are missing a lot of guys on the offensive line. I think it's something to monitor.
So you think we could fade these running backs?
I like Filkins a little bit more, just because he's gonna, he's one of those volume guys that's gonna get everything.
These are the takes Bruce has that wins us all the money, though, because these running backs are like so popular. I think that's good takes.
What do you see in ownership wise for both of them, Tony?
I mean, they got to be 25, 30. They got to be high.
Yeah. They're going to be the most owned backs on the slate, most likely, like 20, 25, 30. Yeah.
I like that take, Bruce.
Well,
These are the takes you ship with.
like this Stanford defensive line, I expected them to get destroyed by Notre Dame last week. I was telling people, you just play all three Notre Dame running backs, and they came out and just stuffed them in a trash can. So I think they're getting better, the Stanford defensive line, and Valladay might be a sharp fade if you do it. Filkins, I just like him too much. This Arizona State defense can't stop anybody. So 3.11 line yards is probably close to last in the country for that defensive line, and he's getting 80% of the snaps. So
I think the key with your Valladay fade idea, Bruce, is there's a lot of guys in that 6K range that you can pivot to, right? Like, I'm not saying that Valladay is a bad play, but like you can definitely find other options that can outscore him at the same price, right? There's Judkins there, there's Charbonnet, and that's just off the top of my head without looking to see who else I'm forgetting. So yeah, that's like another point to bring up with your idea if you want to make that fade.
All right. Well, that kind of wraps it up, folks. Any last thoughts? Any final notes? The slate's pretty scattered. I know that you're going to see ownership high in certain areas, but it's relatively a scattered slate, in my opinion. I think it should be a fun one. Like I said, I feel like they've done the best job of pricing all year. So overall, we'll be interested. I think you'll see a lot of stars and scrubs. I think you'll see a lot of the middles. I think you'll see a lot of everything. And as you guys pointed out, that last game, the late game hammer, I think a lot of people are going to be all over certain pieces of that game. And the Texas Tech game, I think for me, is one of the biggest pieces to this in terms of who actually ends up starting at quarterback, and the receivers are all cheap. Obviously, I like the running back, but a lot of interesting stuff. Any final notes from any of you, or are we ready to get out of here?
I think it's going to be a good day. I feel good with where we are.
Cool. All right, folks, as always, thanks for hanging out with us. Gamble responsibly, stay safe, and as always, run pure. Helmet, let's get out of here.